Hello, thanks for tuning in. All right, today we had a exciting drop off from the FedEx guy. I've been waiting on these for quite some time. Twice before I waited and they were sold out. Now with all the shipping issues going on and logistics, I seen them online again for sale and I went ahead and bought them. These are the Vijay off-road bumpers. They are for the Dodge Ram 15, 25, and 3500. I believe they make them for all three. These are specifically for the 3500 dually. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share, use the links in the description. That all helps the channel and it allows me to bring you guys reviews on products to see if it's something that you guys want before you spend your hard-earned money on it. Alright, we're going to get these boxes open. Again, these are the Vijay off-road bumpers front and rear. It should have all the parking holes and all that stuff in it. So let me slice these boxes open. Okay, these things came extremely well packaged. Each piece is individually wrapped. I believe this is the rear bumper, the smaller of the bumper, because it doesn't have the winch support in there. This is the option with the 12K winch mount. It does have a piece of wood on the bottom to protect it. The front bumper, the heavier of the two, came with some spray insulation foam that they had put over the top of it, and they spray it in there and lock it in. This also has a wooden bottom down there. Everything's individually wrapped. So we get everything out of the box now and lay it out and see how it looks. Alright, we got the Vijay bumpers laid out here, and as you can see, there is no shortage on lights. They give you 4 for the rear and 5 for the front. So essentially 4 and 4, and you get an extra light bar. It is missing 2 of the D-rings for a front bumper. I did call or email them. I heard their customer service is good, so hopefully they'll get back to me. It came with 2 new, I guess, license plate marker lights. We'll see how they work. You cannot retain the factory ones unless you do some modification and some drilling, which we'll see what the light output is on these. It does have the factory sensor holes for the rear parking assist, and 2 of them, 1 on each side, but it's in kind of a weird area, so we'll see how that works as well. They got the Vijay brand logoed on just one side of the lights, on each side, which is good, not too much over branding. This bumper's about twice as thick as stock, so it's pretty decent. Does not come with any wiring harnesses or anything. It does have these little brackets that go over where you would bolt it in, so kind of some extra protection there, and like I said, this is pretty thick. Alright, some of the areas that I've noticed in here, if you look, it's only like spot welded in the middle and in the corners, and areas like this only seem to be welded really on one side and then smoothed out. So that could be a definite improvement. I mean, I'm sure it's cost savings for them above everything than having a welder on here, but if you see, it's only hit in a few spots. And we'll look at the back of the winch mounting area. It says it's a 12K. Okay, we got a huge spot to mount a winch here. It can support 12K, it says. So this is probably set up for a worn winch or something like that. I do have a Harbor Freight winch that I'm going to be putting in here, so stay tuned for that one. The welds in here look a little better. It looks like they went around everything in here, and just in the critical spots. You see there and there, all in the corners, all down here. So it all looks welded pretty well. I may go back through and try and weld some more, I don't know yet, but we'll get it mounted and see how everything works. Okay, so for the price, I don't think they're bad. The steel's pretty decent. I think it's 5/16 or 5/32, I'm not sure. It's what's commonly used on most of your off-road bumpers. Some of them use 3/16, I believe, or 3/32, whatever it is. But this is substantially thicker than the factory bumper. You do get 4 lights on the rear bumper. You do get 4 lights on the front bumper along with a light bar. No wiring harness. It's supposed to come with 4 D-rings. I only got 2. We got all the hardware in there. It came with additional license plate lights. We're gonna take a look at the bumpers. I'll have some installation videos in between me talking about them for the front and the rear, how they fit, the quality. And if you can see, we do have a Badland winch in there. If you want to see the review on it, on how to wire it into the Dodge Ram and all that stuff, click the link above. So we'll take a quick pan around the bumper here. Just to give you a view of it. And Vijay is in one spot on the driver's side. It does come with 2 fog lights, 2 pod lights, and a light bar, and the D-rings. So I'm going to include some video now, and then we'll come back and talk about this. Alright, we're going to move on to the front now and get rid of this stock bumper and put the Vijay off-road bumper on. Okay, you really got to want it if you want this bumper off, because all these brackets got to come off down here. Had to loosen up all the intercooler bolts, all the radiator bolts, so I can move stuff around a little bit and get stuff situated. So now I can bolt back on the plates that go here to mount the bumper up. Okay, now that we've seen some of the video that I captured for the front and rear bumpers, we'll go ahead and start talking about them. And the links will be in the description for everything, so you guys can check that out. It costs nothing for you to click on the link, and if you like it, buy it from there, but it helps the channel out. So please use the links in the description. They do really help us bring you products like this so that you can make educated guess on if you want this for your vehicle or whatever we're doing. So now back onto the bumpers. Overall, with the front bumper, I am impressed with the fit, finish, quality, everything. It fit really well. The instructions were lacking a little bit, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But overall, I mean, the bumper looks good. There are small spots that are expected, you know, when it comes from overseas. Now, that's not the manufacturer's fault. Little areas like that are scuffed up. And I did contact the manufacturer and tell them about the paint markings, and they replied back promptly. That was another good thing, that Vijay customer service, if you read some of the reviews, it's pretty well. And they responded back in less than 24 hours from me. It was really good. They offered to ship me out a can of spray paint. I declined the offer, honestly, because I have spray paint here, and it's really nothing for me to touch this up. It's a small spot. I just wanted to make them aware so that when they repack it, maybe they can put a little extra foam or something on the corners, because it only seems to be on the corner. And as you can see, the paint is pretty decent. It looks like it's got the raw steel, then a layer of something, and then this wrinkle coat. So I'll just pick up some wrinkle can Rust-Oleum and spray it on there, and it'll be good. Vijay logo, like I said, only 1 spot on the front bumper, 1 spot in the rear bumper. That's excellent for these aftermarket bumpers, because you know how these companies like to plaster their name everywhere. At least it's only in 1 spot, so thumbs up for that one. And it's not totally even on my truck. I gotta adjust a little bit, so I would say this is definitely a 2-person installation with some hand jacks. You can do it with 1 person, but I would strongly suggest using 2 people. It comes with 5 lights. Now, these little pod lights here behind this grill, those are what I use for the fog lights. I cut and spliced those directly into the fogs. So I'll pull this down, and you can get these connectors on Amazon or eBay. And you can see doesn't look great, but they include the pigtail here, and then the connection from the factory is right here. So those work with the factory system. Does not give any error codes. Comes up, everything is good. The light bar and the pod lights, I'm waiting on a cluster kit because I don't want to have a whole bunch of relays. This does not include any wiring for the lights. All the wiring and relays are on you. So keep that in mind, and I'll do a review on that when I get it. A little switching system, like an 8-gang switch system. It's pretty nice looking, so hopefully it works out well. These D-rings here, they're pretty solid. I think they're a 3/4 ton. I think. I don't know. They're pretty beefy. They're good shackles. This fit a 12,000 pound winch. Similar to, they compare this winch to the Warn winch. They're Xenon, I think, or whatever it is. Oh, and there's another spot there. A little bit of paint. But it's, oh no, that was just dirt. So it fits definitely a 12K winch. No issues. So that'll fit the Harbor Freight and the Warn one. So it's good. Again, another shackle here. And these are welded in, all right here. And it's got a hook. So it's good. This bumper came in 3 pieces, and it's bolted together here and here with 1 bolt here and 1 bolt here, and then this strap goes over it. So I like the strap because that hides the seam that's there, so it looks seamless, like all one bumper. And you can tell how thick it is. It's pretty thick. This is about 2 to 3 times thicker than the stock bumper. If you guys really want to know the difference, I'll include it in the comments if you comment on it, and I'll measure it with a micrometer. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the lights on real quick to show you how they look. And again, I only have the fog lights hooked up. Okay, as you can see, the fog lights are wired in and working well. And we'll get a close-up view here. They are extremely bright. It's like a cool white. Has like a small hint of blue. Barely noticeable, but they are super bright at night. Trust me, I've driven with them. They are decent lights. And again, these ones I'll have hooked up in another video. And you can see how bright they are. So, they are very nice. Nice and bright. They look good. Okay, onto the instruction manual for the front bumper. All the pieces were here, all the hardware was here. They even included some extra hardware that I used in mounting the winch, because the winch hardware, the washers weren't big enough in my opinion. So this bumper did include a few extra washers. Don't know if it's always going to happen, but it did. As far as following the instructions, follow the whole first page. That's the advice I can give you. And that's why I say 2 people are necessary, because this bumper is extremely heavy. Probably twice the weight as the stock bumper. Easily, 2 to 3 times. So have a partner here helping you out. It'll just save you a lot of time, a lot of energy. All this is correct, hooking it up. Hook up the light bar first on here. Because once it's mounted to the truck, you have limited room coming from the bottom again. You got to contort your hands and everything, and that's the mistake that I made. I put the bumper up first without putting any of the accessories on, which was the light bar and the D-rings and all that. The next page here, let me see, sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed. Alright, let's see. Okay, so this just goes into telling how to remove everything. I didn't remove the factory tow hooks. I actually just disconnected the entire bumper from the assembly. And again, this is a 3500, so it may be different for the 1500s. I'm not sure, but it shows it's decent. And then all this is correct. And all this is correct. Now, when you get down to here, this is where the issue was. When I installed the brackets like this, the bumper actually sat like lower, like down here. So I flipped them around, and when I turned that around on each side and reversed them, and the bumper lifted up in the right spot. So that might be a typo, I'm not sure, and again, it may be different for different models, but that's what I had to do for mine. I had to just flip that around. We followed all this, all that, and then everything else was pretty smooth. There's really no torque specs on here, so I would recommend torquing it back to the factory specs, whatever Dodge calls for. And I put a little bit of red Loctite on there, just a dot, not too much, because you don't want to have trouble getting it off. And you could probably get away with blue Loctite, but this is a heavy duty truck and it's a diesel engine, so it likes to vibrate. Overall, again, I think for the money, the front bumper here is excellent. It fit well. There was no real issues with the bumper going on. It looks good. It sits well. This one just has to be adjusted just a hair. But overall, it looks good. And you gotta cut down the plastic because the plastic doesn't look good. And that'll kind of give you a view of how it looks underneath. You got some air vents there to let the air in. And the winch mount down there. That's the mounting plate. But overall, I think the front bumper is definitely worth the money. Compared to some of the other options out there, this is definitely worth the money. So we'll take a look at the rear now. Okay, here's the rear bumper. As you can see, they include 4 lights back here as well. 2 pod lights and 2 outside, I guess, reverse lights. And you see I was able to keep the Amp Research bed step there. And if you can see right there, there is an ugly hole that I had to put on a brand new bumper, and we'll talk about that. And I'm sorry if it's a little too dark out. And then we'll talk about the plug here and what happened with that. We got a quick look around. And you see the parking sensors are in there. I was able to put the parking sensors in there. And those are factory parking sensors, and we'll talk about that too. And back here it says Vijay as well. Alright, we'll go over the rear video now on what I caught, and then we'll talk about the bumpers in general as a whole. It's real simple to get these bumpers off, and I think it's the same for all 4th gen Rams. Underneath the rear license plate, you will have 2 15mm bolts, and then along the inside, you're going to have 2 on this side and 2 on this side. Now, they could be 15 or 18, I believe, depending on the year. This is a 2012, so they were all 15. Then you're going to disconnect your parking sensors, your lights, any wiring harness on the back of the bumper, and the bumper pulls straight off. So let's get this thing off. Okay, we got the rear bumper off. Super light. I was really surprised in how light the factory bumper is compared to just the center section of the Vijay bumper. So I'm going to come in here and look at, wanted to show you how thick this metal difference was. If you look down there at the stock bumper right here on the left, and this is the aftermarket off-road bumper, it's almost twice as thick. So this is a bit of an upgrade. Okay, we've run into our first issue with the Vijay bumper. It does not have the hole here for the factory hitch mount. It's got a bumper pull hole here, so it does not want to sit flush with anything. Probably going to have to drill a hole here, and the towing pintle, or the towing 7-way and 4-way does not fit in here. This is too small, so I'm going to have to grind this out a little bit to fit the factory one. Let me grab it and show you. What did I do with it? Here it is. As you can see, the metal's not cut right, so I'm gonna have to modify this a little bit and drill this out probably here. It's gonna be fun. Alright, there was our problem. If you see how raised up that is, it's about probably a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch up. And you can see from all the pressure, I was jumping on it, leave an impression there, so I'm going to have to cut this area out, and then we'll set it down and see what happens. Okay, we're now onto the back bumper here, and this is kind of where the installation got a little tricky. It may not be the same in your application, but this is the 3500 dually high output with the towing package. Now, if you see here, fit and finish is okay, like the front. Everything looks good. I was able to keep the amp research bed step. Had to do a little modification to that, no big deal. Other than that, it comes with new license plate lights. They are like an orange color, so they're not too bad. Alright, not sure how the video is picking them up, but they're pretty bright. They do light everything up. Pod lights again, and I guess rear fogs, not sure. Everything looks pretty decent. Okay, so some of the issues that I had in the back here was with the factory tow hitch. That is part of the factory system, as you can see there. Not sure if I'm getting all of it, but you get the point. This bumper will not fit with this here. You only got two options there, or three. You can shave this down, which would be extremely hard. You could remove the entire hitch assembly, and again, on a non-heavy duty application, this may not even be here. Or you can do like I did and cut a hole in this. And I'll include some photos now about the size requirements to cut into here. So about 2 inches wide is how you want to cut the hole. And probably about a 1.8 inches up and down, and that should give you enough area. So even if you did a 2x2 square here, it would be more than enough. As far as the trailer plug, again, here is another area that the original, if you see, it's Mopar. It's the original dealership one. This was too big. So that means that the hole was cut just a few millimeters short, and I'll include some pictures again of that. Okay, we're back here at the 7-way and 4-way connectors for the trailer. And this hole seems to be too small. I contacted the manufacturer, who told me to send them measurements, so I did. This may not be true for all applications, but for the 3500 2012 4th gen, I had to shave quite a bit of plastic off and cut quite a bit off the top to get that to fit properly into there, and still it's a very tight fit. But you see how it's like butted right up against the top. So we'll push it in and we'll see if that helped. Alright, we got it in, everything's sitting flush. Again, you'll just have to shave everything down and kind of shave it and push it in to fit. So those were the two biggest modification issues that we had here. Again, if you don't have the factory hitch, a heavy duty hitch, you probably won't have the 7-way plug, or you might, and it might be a smaller version, but we just shaved this down to get that to fit in there. This we had to cut a hole in, and I'm going to fill this back in with some body filler, or maybe put a weld around there to keep this as a, I guess, a structural part, because the bumper is good, it's solid. The parking sensors here, here, and then one there, and one there. Those are the original parking sensors. There are some issues with them. They will fit. I've seen a lot of complaints in the reviews about they're not fitting. You have to remove the old factory piece from the sensor, and These were the sensor holes I was talking about. You're just gonna go ahead and leave the OEM, I guess, spacer hole in the bumper, and they'll fit inside the Vijay bumper. Just put the sensor in here with the rubber O-ring that's on the factory sensor. It'll fit with a little bit of grease, and they don't come out. They're in there pretty good. The issue with the bumper is they're not in the original spots. So you have to go ahead and extend the wires here, which you'll see here. I extended the wires down in there from the OEM spots, which would be here and probably here somewhere. So the sensors are acting a little wonky. It's picking up the D-rings here. It's picking up stuff all on the side over here. When I'm backing up, not a big deal because I have a trailer hooked to it most of the time, but that might be a cause of concern. So a fix for that is either drill another hole closer over here, or I don't know if you can reprogram these things. I'm gonna check and see. If anybody knows, just drop it in the comments. With the Amp Research bed step, went ahead and put that in, and we used the factory bolts that came with the bumper, and you just need a thin wall 18 to go in there. Other than that, I can't really complain about the rear bumper. Like I said, this might be a deal breaker for some people, but we had the tools here to cut it. And other than that, it fits well, because you got to be able to angle the bumper down and in. So with that there, you got to have this area cut for that. So overall, I mean, the lights look good. Like I said, I'm waiting for a switch panel for these lights. The bumpers need to be adjusted, and there is adjustability. They're slotted, so if you see here, it's really close. And this could be just, again, on my truck. And again, I gotta adjust the bumper, but it looks good. Fit and finish is good. Again, 2 people, probably take an afternoon to get them on there. And that's the front. Super, super, super nice. Very impressed. So yeah, overall, for the money, you can't beat it. These things are like right around $1,700 bucks maybe for the set. You're not gonna find anything like that on the market. I think the other bumpers start at around $1,200 to $1,300 just for the front. This is just fine, and where these join up together and everything, it's held in with 2 bolts, and then about 10 of those Allen heads are all the grade 8.8 or, yeah, now let's see, grade 8.8 if you see there. So it's pretty heavy duty hardware. Everything's held in nicely. I think these pod lights got quite a few LEDs in there. They look good. Good D-rings. Everything looks good. So if you don't have the factory hitch in the back and you don't have the factory tow package, these will probably be a direct swap right on. The only issue would be the parking sensors, and hopefully you can work through that. The license plate lights, they light up, hook right up, splice them into the factory. The front fog lights, splice them into the factory. They'll work fine. The additional lights, I suggest getting some relays or a controller. So I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.